Welcome to YOUCANIC. Today here on YOUCANIC we have a 2014 Volkswagen Tiguan. On this Volkswagen Tiguan we're going to go over how you would replace your serpentine belt and tensioner. The serpentine belt, if you're just doing the serpentine belt, very easy. We just need to take the tension off, take the belt off, and then put the new belt on. This is your belt diagram here on the 2.0 TSI motor. We just have a crankshaft, AC compressor, and the alternator, and one tensioner. That's the whole belt system on this 2.0 TSI. And so you just need to back off the tension, remove the belt, and put a new one on. If you're replacing the new tensioner because it's got a lot of miles and you feel the need to replace the tensioner, that's going to be a little bit more work involved. True to form on Volkswagen, it's pretty much you're better off just ripping out the whole motor, doing all the work you need, and put it back in. It's okay. It's my personal vehicles. I drive this brand personally. But anyway, so back to the real matter at hand. So we can loosen up, relieve the tension, and we'll need to lock the tensioner out with an Allen or something small enough to get in the hole there to lock the tensioner, and that way we can get the belt off, and the tensioner needs to be in the locked position to be able to be removed once we get to that function. So we'll start with that. We just need a 7mm wrench or ratchet to be able to get on there, and then go clockwise. Something to get in this hole between there and there to lock that in the open position. And now we can remove this belt. Now this belt is definitely worn. It has been cut into two, so it's two belts instead of one. It's not the way it's supposed to be, but this one is just worn out. So we have two belts, but it was one. It has just worn in the middle and been on there too long. Okay, now that is in the tension place and locked open. There are a couple other things you can do. We can either remove the alternator, or we're going to go down from the bottom and there is a bolt on the back that we need to remove. You're going to need some small extensions, a 5mm Allen head, and a wobbly will come in very good handy to be able to loosen that bolt, and then that way this will be able to slide out. But to get this to completely come out, we are going to need to remove this engine motor mount to be able to lower the engine to get this tensioner shaft to come completely out. So let's go ahead and get the bolt down there behind. Like I said, you can remove the alternator and pull it out through here and then be able to loosen the bolt from where the alternator sits, or there is the way to put it up through the bottom and be able to loosen it up, and we'll do that. So up through here is the bolt that we're looking for. I'll try to get the best visual you can on it to know what you're looking to remove. And so this is my setup here with the 5mm and a wobbly, and then some extensions to get the length to get down here. And also we'll just pull this water line a little bit over here. This was a 5mm that held this on, and now we can pop this out and get us some more space. So what we're looking for, there's a bolt right here right next to this power line that goes to the alternator that we need to loosen. So we just need to get this up. Okay, we got it in there. Now, this is the bolt that you're looking to So this is the bolt that you're looking to remove here. It's got this big flat washer and the size 5 Allen to get this off. Now once you've removed that, now we'll be able to pull the shaft of the tensioner out, but it goes all the way through, and so it's too long to clear the frame. So that's where we need to undo the motor mount and be able to lower the motor to get the whole tensioner removed. And so you'll need to support the bottom of the motor with a jack, or have a hoist to support the motor from up top. Okay, so I have the motor supported with a jack under there and a wood block to cause minimal damage. Now we'll want to remove the 5 bolts to hold this motor mount in place. We've got one here that is a 13, and then these 2 here and these 2 here. Now I mark them with a marker so that I know where they go back in, and that's where they've been sitting the whole time. So we're going to do the best to realign those back up when we put everything back in. Technically, we just need to take this bolt and this bolt out because we're just dropping the motor down. Now if you were going to raise up the motor, that's where you would take the whole motor mount off, and you'll see a step where you might raise up the motor to be able to get your alternator out a little bit easier. But so we'll actually remove this bolt and this bolt and be able to lower the motor down to be able to get this, our tensioner, out. Because it won't in the current state, without lowering the motor, we're not going to clear the frame here. These bolts are a size 18. So we've now removed the bolts. We're going to lower the engine just enough to get the tensioner out, and we're just going to do that nice and slow. Right, so we've been able to lower the engine low enough to be able to get this tensioner out, and then to be able to replace this if needs be. And this is where that bolt screws in on the back to hold this into place. So when you get to that point and you're ready to install your new tensioner, you'll just take the tensioner, make sure that you have it still, the new one, locked in the lock position, because if it's not, it won't slide in and out. So we have the tensioner back in place, and now we can raise the motor and put our starter bolts back in to hold the motor up. So I'm just bringing these down close because we're still going to do some fine adjustment to do our best to get the motor mount to line back up where it was originally. And then once you do that, then you'll torque these bolts to spec. There we go. I'm just going to leave some room for some adjustment there. So we have our new belt, and compare it to the other one, that it's sitting about the same length. It's going to be a little bit shorter just because it's new and it hasn't stretched out. And so we're going to take our new belt note to the editor, this is the installation of the serpentine belt and the tensioner. So we'll just put this in there somewhere. On the 2014 Volkswagen Tiguan with the 2.0 TSI motor. So the tensioner has been installed. It slipped up in there, and now we have our belt. And so we're going to put the belt on. It just goes around the crank, the AC, and the alternator. Now this is a new belt, and so you can compare it with your old one that the length's pretty close. Of course, this is a new, so it's not stretched, so it'll seem to be a little bit shorter. So we need to get the belt back where the intercooler comes through. We basically have to twist the belt sideways to get it to go through there, to get around the crankshaft. And then you get around the crankshaft, you'll go, because we'll go around the AC, and if we go around the alternator, because that way that'll be in all the grooves. It gives us the right length there, and then the smooth side on the back of the tensioner there, we're able to slip that all into place. And now that we got that all routed around there, we can relieve the tension from the tensioner. And that would be the end of installing your tensioner. Do remember that you have your bolt on the other side of the tensioner that you'll need to put in to continue to hold the tensioner in place from under the car, and that you have the belt ran and it's seated in all the grooves. And so that's how we would put that belt on our 2014 Volkswagen Tiguan with a TSI motor. Thanks for watching YOUCANIC, where you can be the mechanic.